I do a key bump, and it's like, I was like, oh my God. Like, it'd been like I'd been sleeping for 30 years, and I finally woke up. When you do something when no one's looking, I really think there's some magic to that. I remember there were like 3 Russian hookers running around my apartment at like 6 in the morning. I swear to God.
You're never going to be perfectly happy all the time. The best you can hope for is to be reasonably happy. Most of the time.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Reasonably Happy with Paul Ollinger. This is the first episode of the next generation of my podcast, formerly known as Crazy Money. 5 years, 222 episodes, recorded most of them remotely because of COVID. Thanks a lot, God. I mean nature, I mean the universe, whatever. And here we are. I'm in New York City. I moved to New York City this summer. We're going to start filming all of our podcasts live in person at Studio 660 in Midtown Manhattan. It's Studio 660, right, Mike?
Yeah,
that's right. I got the name right. We're here at between 51st and 52nd on 3rd Avenue. And we got producer Mike behind the steel wheels. And today, I'm starting with a former guest of Crazy Money. His name is Turney Duff. He's my pal. He's the author of a book called The Buy Side, a Wall Street trader's tale of spectacular excess.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that subtitle.
Thank you. It actually, for a moment, it was wretched excess.
Wretched.
And we decided we wanted to lean the other way.
But if you say spectacular, you expect success, and yet it's excess. Give us a thumbnail version of what that excess consisted of. And then we'll step back, and then we'll go deep.
We're jumping right in. Of the excess or success?
The excess. Let's just hit the top line, and then we'll pull it back, and then we'll go deep.
Yeah, I mean it. A lot of debauchery. I ended up becoming a successful cocaine addict. I was inducted into the Cocaine Hall of Fame in 2006.
Yeah. That's in Cooperstown? Is that where that is?
somewhere around there. Yeah. Back alley of Cooperstown. But yeah, no, I'm flying around in private jets and spending more money than humanly possible. And you know, I grew up in a small town in a house heated by a wood stove and up in Maine. And, you know, 7-10 years after I left for New York City, I was living this insane lifestyle that came to a crashing end.
All right. That included a whole bunch of alcohol and cocaine.
Yes, a lot.
All right. We're going to get back to alcohol and cocaine. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on, first of all, because this is a new format. And I'm nervous, and I don't know how this is going to go. But the whole point of this is to be like looser and just have real conversations. And I feel very comfortable talking to you.
Good.
I miss my friends in Atlanta, but the benefit of being in New York is that I get to hang out with people like producer Mike, who's a guy from Atlanta that I've known for a long time, but haven't really spent a lot of time with. And my buddy Turney here, who we met 6 or 7 years ago at Jesse Itzler's Hell on the Hill event.
Yep. In the swimming pool.
In the swimming pool.
Shirts
off.
It
was in the day.
Shirts off.
Yeah, suits on. Suits on. And so I'd heard about you, you were eating a Nutty Buddy ice cream treat, and you said, since I got sober, this is my drug, or something to the effect. So, and I think that the theme of reasonably happy is an interesting one for you, because here you were, whatever, a decade ago.
Yeah.
You have what everybody thinks they want.
Yeah.
Money, success. You're a celebrity in your industry on Wall Street, and then it all goes away.
Yeah.
And today, here you are living your life. You seem like a reasonably happy guy.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because happiness has been definitely kind of a topic that I do talk about. And I would say the two things that I've uttered the most in my entire life are, I just want to be happy, and I forget the other one.
It's usually lasts longer. It's like, I'm sorry, that's the next one's for you. Are those the things that
I've uttered the words, I just want to be happy, more than anything else. And
starting when you were in high school, what did you think happened? I mean, did you say in high school that you just wanted to be happy? Because I didn't. I was like, I want to be rich. I want to be somebody. I want to be successful.
I mean, I'm sure I wanted all of those things, but yeah, I always just wanted to be happy. Like, who doesn't want to be happy?
But we don't put it in those terms. That's the thing.
I mean, I think I did. I think, well, I was always seeking pleasure, but that's the thing. Like, my definition of happiness.
I just want to be happy.
My definition of happiness was pleasure, right? So I didn't really know.
Hedonistic pleasure, though.
Yeah, I mean, I graduated to that level, but early on it was, I just wanted a good day.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so I chased happiness for 40 years, right? And this is, I'm jumping way ahead, but so it is 2011. I'm back from my second drug and alcohol rehab. Second one.
Right.
Family court has gone, smoothly. All of my amends.
You had a daughter, but you were not married.
Yep. Sorry. So I had family court. My daughter at the time was 4. I got through that unscathed. All of my amends went flawlessly. Nobody was mad at me. I'd been sober for like 2 or 3 years, and
nobody was mad at you.
And I had just gotten a huge book deal from Random House.
Right.
And so I still wasn't happy. And I'm like, something's wrong with me. Like, I'm an asshole. Something is wrong with me. So I literally went to the computer and I Googled the pursuit of happiness because I wanted to know what it meant back in 1776. And what I found out was it actually meant honor, integrity, how you live your life. And I was like, wait, what?
Boring.
So on that day, I declared, fuck happiness. I said, you know what? I don't want to be happy. Fuck happiness. And the irony is, ever since that day, I've never been happier. Right. So once I stopped chasing it, I was able to obtain it.
Fuck happiness is one of the rejected titles for the show, by the way. Actually, no, here's the top rejected new names for crazy money. Portion control. Tried that. Didn't know so well. Dear world, when will you acknowledge me? That was one I was... because then I'll be happy.
Right.
Death to the algorithm.
It has a little Judy Blume sort of energy.
I read that with my daughter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I read all that Judy Blume stuff with my daughter. Did you read it with your daughter?
Not with my daughter, but I read it from my sisters, like in 1982.
Right. Because it was dirty.
Right.
Cortisol, a love story, and you suck, nobody likes you. I like Reasonably Happy. Yeah. Better than all those. But check this out. Okay, you brought up recovery. You brought up amends. And so this is something about Reasonably Happy that shocked me. My speaking agent, who is a devout Christian, hello, Carrie, and a lovely person, she said, I told her the name of the new name of the podcast. And yes, I have a speaking agent, but not a comedy agent. What is that all about? She said, I love the name Reasonably Happy. Did you get it from the Serenity Prayer? And I was like, the Serenity Prayer? You know the Serenity Prayer.
Of course.
Mike, do you know the Serenity Prayer?
Give me the power to change things I can't and the things that annoy me. Something like that?
Yeah, close enough.
So it goes like this. God, give me the grace to accept the things. This is the dance version they have here. It's, give me the grace to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? That's the abbreviated version. But did you know that there's a second verse to the Serenity Prayer? There is.
I know. I didn't know.
The second verse goes, living one day at a time. That's an AA thing, right?
Yep.
Enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as he, capital H, that would be God. God capitalizes his pronouns because God digs chicks. Taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right. I promise I'm going to get to the point here. I will surrender to his will, still God, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. That's a lot of pressure to put on the next life, if you ask me. But I had no idea that this verse 1 existed and that it contained the words reasonably happy.
Yeah, I didn't know it existed.
It's kind of like when you find out that there's a second verse to the Cheers theme song and you realize the lyrics are brutal.
What does it say?
Well, speaking of capital H-E, it's, and your husband wants to be a girl. Sometimes you want to go. I'm not kidding.
Oh, really?
It's hilarious.
That is a pre-2020 song.
Oh, that's too funny.
So reasonably happy. So what it means to me is that, and it's still, we're going to cover a lot of the same stuff we covered on Crazy Money, which is about the role of money and success and fulfillment and all that stuff. But reasonably happy is like, I think it's not realistic to believe that you're going to be 100% happy all the time. And that life is 80% good stuff and 20% bullshit. And you just have to come to accept the bullshit and be like, I'm not perfectly happy today, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm generally pretty fucking happy.
It's really interesting because you didn't cut me off. I just didn't finish my thought.
So I cut you off.
No, you didn't. But when I said fuck happiness, I made my goal serenity.
Right.
And the understanding was that my definition of happiness is unsustainable. There's no way that like I could continue, because if I made $1 million, I'd want $2 million. Like it was unsustainable. But serenity is sustainable. Like I can maintain good, bad, or indifferent, no matter what happens in my life.
Yep.
I can maintain some level of serenity. So I do kind of like the idea of reasonably happy, just because, yeah, sometimes shit's not going to go your way.
Right.
And as long as you can, remain, relatively, calm, or be able to deal with it in a way that will be productive, then it kind of works.
Do you think if you had kept on your path, let's say you kept at 80% on your path, you didn't have the what do you call it? What's the low moment called?
Bottom?
You didn't hit bottom. Let's just say you kept kind of going at like 75%.
Right.
Do you think that you could have ever come to that realization if things kind of kept going your way and you had a manageable addiction?
No, I mean, what's the exact question?
I mean, do you think these insights to focus on serenity can only come after you've had
100%.
An upheaval like the one that you
100%.
had?
Like, I've often been asked, like, would you change anything? And I don't think I would, because there's no way I'd be able to, sort of be the person I think I am today without all of that, right? Yep. It's so hard, though, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So, like, if I was still humming along and, making good Wall Street money and, partying here and there, but, my relationship was not as great as it is today with my daughter.
Yep.
My relationship with my girlfriend or wife, was average at best, like
arm's length.
Right. I wouldn't know what I was missing, so it would be hard to be like, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, somebody much smarter than me once said, perspective's worth 80 IQ points.
Right.
And like, I couldn't agree more, it's just like, I don't know. And I maybe I'm a terrible, like, ex-Wall Street capitalist or whatnot, but like none of that shit really, really brought me happiness.
The money and the game.
Right. And just all of the shenanigans and whatnot. I remember, it's not a great story, but I remember there were like 3 Russian hookers running around my apartment at like 6 in the morning.
6 in the morning.
I had to kick them out, right? So I kick them out, and then I get to...
You need American hookers you can leave at your place.
Right.
Russian hookers.
Russians scare me. I don't know why, but they just scare me. Right. So I get in this like limo, and I got taken to a private jet, and we fly up to Boston. And then I'm sitting at Fenway Park for the Yankees game, and I brought a couple of friends with me, and we're sitting front row, like over the dugout. And I remember this like clear as day. My friends who didn't do drugs and weren't part of Wall Street were freaking out, and they were like, "This is the coolest day!" Like they were freaking out, and like I was just like, "It's all right." Like I was so warped, and I didn't. Like, it was just, I was numb to all of it.
Right.
Right. And it was impossible to, like, achieve natural highs.
Okay, set the scene for the first time you did cocaine. Actually did it, not the time you didn't do it.
Okay. So the first time I did cocaine, I was at the Thompson Hotel, and I was up on the roof, and like 4 or 5 cocktails deep, and someone is like kind of hitting their fist to mine, playing 1 potato, 2 potato, and so like I open my hand, and they drop the bag of cocaine in, and so I had averted trying it, for maybe 6 months. But this time, everything had changed. Like my bank account had changed. I had moved downtown. I had a new job.
You got a couple $1 million in your bank account.
Running around with a different crowd. And so I was like, fuck it.
What year is this?
2001, I believe.
Okay.
I should know. It's in my book.
Right. That's okay. I read your book a long time ago, and we talked about it.
It's kind of a blur. But anyway, so I go to the bathroom, and I do a key bump, and it's like, I was like, oh my God. Like it'd been like I'd been sleeping for 30 years, and I finally woke up, right? And I was just like, oh my, like, this feels too good. So there was a moment between the bathroom and going back up to the roof where I was like, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Like
immediately you knew that.
Yeah. I was like, I feel too good for this not to, I want to feel like this every single second of every day. Right.
Yeah.
And like, I tell people I loved cocaine. Like Leo loved that chick in Titanic.
Right.
Like, if you listen to Celine Dion's song from the movie, she's singing about me and cocaine. I swear to God, every word, lyric for lyric, like, and I went back up into the roof, and I don't know, every sense was heightened, and like, I mean, I was out of my mind. Well, cocaine isn't like I don't know. Have you ever done it?
I've never done it.
Okay. So
for this exact reason.
Right.
Because I know that anything that makes me feel like the center of attention, like I'm brilliant, like everybody loves me,
Invincible.
and that makes women want to come out and hang out with me.
Yes.
That would have been a bad combination for me.
When I say
I have comedy to ruin my life for that.
When I say out of my mind, I don't mean like sloppy drunk or like on like mushrooms or ecstasy. No, it's just like fucking everything is like on 10. But there was girls over there that I knew who they were checking me out. They wanted me. Like the waitress was walking by, she definitely was checking me out. And like these guys over here, like I just fucking knew everything, and I felt unstoppable, and I just was like, yes, that's it.
Wow. Did you hear Theo Vaughn talking to Trump about cocaine last week?
I saw a couple of clips.
Cocaine will make you feel like an owl, bro.
Yeah, he's good at talking about cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so we'll keep talking about it. Then I'm going to ask you to reflect on it. So how does this progress? And you told me you were telling me in the lobby that you could track the economy and the collapse of the economy to where you were in your addiction at the time. Between 01 and I guess what, 08, 09?
Yeah, well, that's more in hindsight.
Okay.
I used to make fun of people like on Wall Street when they'd call with a terrible idea, and I'm like, what are you, freaking hindsight capital? Right. But anyways, so when I went back and looked at the markets, my life was literally like a spitting image of like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. And, I had a low point around 2001, and then, everything was okay. And the financial collapse, like I'm right there lockstep, like, and my life blew up epically, right with the market. And, right as it sort of turned around, I didn't get sober till October 16th, 2009. And so I think the market was a little after me. But yeah, it was a 1-for-1.
But you said something to the effect of like September of 08 when Lehman's imploding, or maybe it was Bear Stearns.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, you were probably in a hotel by yourself.
I was definitely in a hotel. So yeah, I watched the movie Too Big to Fail by Andrew Sorkin. I watch it probably like once every 2 years, but they have timestamps, and so they'll say August 12th, 2008, right? And I can just visualize. I'm like, oh, I didn't go home that night, and I was, ripping lines, in a hotel room, and just not sleeping.
By yourself, doing lines,
Yeah.
staying up for multiple nights at a time.
Yeah.
Watching hotel porn, as I recall.
Yep.
One-man bachelor party.
Yes, that's me.
And sometimes you'd have escorts come over just to do coke with you.
Yeah, the escorts were more before I went to rehab the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The in between, there were no escorts actually between the first and second rehab. That was primarily porn and just pacing.
Wow. Is that because you ran out of money or because you just didn't want any human interaction?
So I had a daughter at home and a girlfriend.
Right.
And so I didn't want to cheat on her, which people are like shocked. They're like,
I'm not going to cheat on you. I'm just going to go sit in a hotel by myself for 2 nights, do a bunch of lines, and watch porn.
Yeah.
Well, it's not cheating. It's not cheating. Technically, it's not cheating.
I've had numerous discussions with Wall Street guys who try to tell me the massage parlor is not cheating.
Right.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I okay.
Well, okay, but I think if you asked, well, I don't know. I would imagine
0% of wives and girlfriends would say that's not cheating.
And listen.
All right, I'll say
No.
7%.
I would say that I think the distinction would be if you were to ask, how do I not bring myself into this?
Oh, no, but like and again, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but there probably are some people out there who were like, okay, better him get it over there and me not have to do it when he gets home.
Well, or better him have a
non-personal,
non-emotional relationship than with Susie who lives down the street.
100%.
Right. I mean, like that's what you see blow families up.
Yeah.
If there's any risk of an emotional connection versus a physical one, I think that's a different level from most.
Have I ever told you about the time I accidentally kissed my masseuse?
Wait, was a masseuse a dude or
it was a woman.
Okay, no, please.
So this is after my second rehab, and I'm driving down, and I hadn't gotten laid yet, and in sobriety and whatever. So I'm driving down the street, and I see this neon sign, which is usually code. Like a neon sign, like there's a good chance, right? So I go in there not knowing, it's 50-50, whatever, and I get naked, and she's massaging like every inch of my body, like every inch, and
that's a pretty good indication that the door's open.
So then I flip over, and she's really close, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
Okay. So I'm like, all right, that's, weird, but okay, whatever. So she tells me, it's over, whatever, the alarm dings. And I get up, I get dressed. She comes in to like clean the bed or whatnot. And she looks at me like this. And then she leans in, right? She brings her arms over, right? And she starts going in. I was like, she's making out with me. I'm like, oh my God, like, what do I do? What do I do? And so she comes in, and I'm like, I have to kiss her, right? So, and she's like probably like 50, like really calloused hands. And so I go in, and I start to kiss her on the side of her lip. And I feel her like fixing my collar. So she was just fixing my collar, and I thought she was kissing me, and so I accidentally kissed her.
That's probably not the worst thing that's ever happened to her.
But
what'd she say?
She just kind of smiled and.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it was a little embarrassing.
So what was sex like? You said you would never, this is the part that we're not going to edit out because it's all about embracing imperfection. You said you hadn't got laid as a sober person yet.
Yeah.
How is sex different as a sober person than as a non-sober person?
Well, I can't speak for every sober person, right? For me.
For you, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, okay. So I used booze and drugs, and like that got rid of all of my inhibitions. And so without drugs and alcohol, I was pretty shy, like, right? So, like, I don't know if I ever had sex with someone the first time without drugs and alcohol. It was always like, that's how I always, had sex with someone the first time. And so when you're sober, you have to do it sober the first time.
What a drag.
Right. So it gets a little weird and awkward, and you kind of feel like you're, 15, 16, 17, 18, however old you are,
Sure.
And it's weird, but like doing
Did you perform better sober than you did drunk, or did it take you a while to get over the like inhibition?
No, because I hope my mom doesn't listen to this, but like
we have a very large listenership among the northeastern Maine octogenarian community.
No, but like I had sex with some escorts, over the years, and I would, how do I say this? Like, not complimented, but like, you can last a long time on booze and cocaine,
right.
and so like, and especially a condom, like,
right.
So,
which I recommend if you're sleeping with multiple escorts.
Of course, of course.
You should also wear socks when you rent bowling shoes.
But yeah, no, sober, and even despite the condom, it goes much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear that, honey? Hear that? Speaking of escorts.
Sorry.
What? No. More.
No, the one thing
please.
I would say is there's this like fallacy, I think, right? Mm-hmm. You're taught like on the playground, and you're taught, maybe I'm completely wrong, but
Not
like
at St. Jude Elementary School, we weren't.
There's this fallacy that like, men are supposed to last 20, 30, 40 minutes. I think I don't buy it. I think if you get if you get a good 7 to 10 minutes, like.
Oh, come on. 7 to 10 minutes, Turney. Well, yeah, I think you're right.
That's my.
I think you're
I'm
right.
sticking to it.
All right. You would talk to me once about your escort economic indicators.
Yes.
Index. Tell me how that works.
I was writing for CNBC, and I wanted to kind of take the temperature of the market and whatnot. And I was like, I kind of knew that, high-end escorts, their, I guess, I don't know what's the word is, busyness or their like activity, or I thought, like reaching out to them and interviewing a bunch of high-end escorts, I would kind of be able to get a gauge on how the market was doing, because if things are good on Wall Street, people are partying harder, they're entertaining more, and so yeah, I've done a couple of different articles for CNBC, and it was just interviewing escorts. And I kind of was able to predict which way the market was going.
What year was that? And it was going down, I assume.
There were two different ones. I believe 2015 ones.
Oh, okay.
And then another one I think was in 17.
Do you think that, how has Wall Street changed along those lines in the last 20 years?
It's changed a lot. People still party, but like the entertaining, like, it's a lot harder to kind of get through compliance and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So whereas in 2003, every firm on Wall Street, was able to kind of like slide through a credit card. Like you could have a strip bar
at
bill,
the steakhouse,
right? For $5,000, and no one would even bat an eye.
Correct. That was the same in advertising sales, by the way.
But today, it's the tier 4 and tier 5 firms that can get away with it, and
because they're not subject to the same compliance or scrutiny,
or its lack of knowing that they can't compete without it.
Right.
So, like, if I'm like a trader at $1 billion hedge fund, or $1 billion today isn't even considered like that big a deal. But if I'm at a say a $5 to $10 billion hedge fund, and I'm a trader, I've got all of the usual, brokers that I deal with who get me research, and they get me meetings at companies, and, they do kind of whatever I need to do.
Right.
But then I've got a couple of other sales traders who don't have research. They don't have anything. They charge me, a penny, a share,
Right.
and I call them up and say, hey,
They have expense accounts.
right, like, whatever.
I would like to go to the Yankees game
Right.
and sit on the first base line.
Yes, exactly.
Right. If that's your competitive advantage, you don't have a terribly strong market position.
Well, and think about it from their standpoint, they'll spend $200,000 a year on entertaining, right?
if you make 400, why
Right.
not?
Exactly. It's pretty simple.
Let's go to where we are. This part we might cut out. How do you? What habits do you have that keep you reasonably happy?
Well, I attend a 12-step program, so I think that
Daily, weekly? How often?
I
do
go
you
2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Some Zoom, some in person. And I'm not great at this, but this is like magic, and I don't know why it works, but when shit's not going well and I'm in my own head, if I go help someone else, it fixes everything. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, by helping someone else, it gets me out of my own head, and it resets. I don't remember to do it all of the time.
Right.
But so
Is there a structure for that, or do you just have to go, who needs help and how can I just go out and do something nice and don't ask for anything?
Yeah, for me, it isn't I'm not as good at it's not part of my daily routine or anything like that. But when I can sense that I'm getting squirrely or just not in a good place, I will go seek. It's easy, especially in the recovery world, to help people.
Because there's always somebody that wants to talk and maybe beyond the meeting.
Yeah, and you take someone with less time than you, or counting days or whatever, and say, oh, let's go to the diner or whatever.
Counting days means you're just starting and you're like, fuck, every
Typically,
day is a...
They have you count days up into 90.
Oh, okay.
That's the number.
Okay. What's been weird in New York is just walking around. I've given directions. I gave directions to a stranger today.
Right.
I'm not sure I gave them the right directions, but I still felt good about myself.
Totally. No, it's true. I remember this one time I went to the deli, and I got there, and this woman was half so far in the parking lot, a normal person wouldn't have waited and hold the door, but I did.
Yep.
And I think people were looking at me weird. And then I walk in and I look on the ground and there's a $20 bill. And so I pick it up and I'm like, excuse me, is this yours? And they're like, oh my God, yes, thank you, whatever. And I felt great.
Yeah.
It was almost doing a hit of cocaine.
Well, are the endorphins the same that you get from? So far my best story along these lines in New York, and again, I've only been here 8 weeks, something like that. But had coffee with my buddy Ted Miko from Launch.com days. Hey Ted. And then we were walking out of the coffee shop, Joe on Waverly Place, I think, right down there in the Village. And I used to live just blocks from there. And so I felt like I was in my old neighborhood, and Ted and I are sitting there talking on the block, and I hear this woman, and she's like, excuse me, can you help me? And in New York, half the time, that's some nutty person. And I look over, and I see this older Asian woman with a white cane. And I was like, oh, she's trying to cross 6th Avenue. And I go, you have a walk signal, telling her you can go. And she goes, no, I need you to walk me across 6th Avenue. I need you to walk me across the street. And so I walked over and I held this woman's hand and I walked her across 6th Avenue. And I felt like a hero.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, just in this massively impersonal town, one of these incredibly intimate, simple moments that just happened and passed, and I'll never see her again.
Yep.
And it was wild, and it does make you feel great. Okay, so you go to your meetings and you do things. You consciously seek out ways to help others.
Wait, was that a question?
Well, I'm just sort of coming back to you.
Yeah, I mean,
the things you do to keep you calibrated.
I should do it more, I would say. But another thing that I do occasionally is, and this also is kind of magic. I do something nice for someone and don't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone.
Not even that person.
Nope. and you keep it to yourself. And there's something about that just like, I mean, it's along the same lines as helping someone else, but like when you do something when no one's looking, I really think there's some magic to that. And I definitely have improvement. I need better sleep. I need to eat better. But I would say generally just trying to be a good person has provided me with a lot of happiness.
I try to do something self-serving and then post it on Instagram and boost it.
You gotta boost it.
All right. Do you meditate?
Not enough. I have, but I should do it more. This isn't meditating, but driving, which I don't drive as much as I used to because I'm back in the city, and in the shower are the two places that I think the best.
You drive in the shower?
No, driving and taking a shower.
Okay.
Sorry. So those aren't meditative like states, but like I am, like when you think about it, when you're showering, you are kind of by yourself and just...
You're not thinking about anything.
Right.
Your brain is free to not obsess about why the world hasn't recognized you as to the extent that you deserve.
Your teeth are really white.
Mine are?
Yeah.
Thank you. I brush often.
They're good teeth.
Thank you. I've had good dentistry. I try to meditate, and I think of myself as a meditator, but as I think about it, I haven't meditated in like 2 months.
Right.
And I do get a lot out of it, if only to see the crazy stuff that is in your head.
Yeah, no. I think it's great. And I heard a podcast, I think at the beginning of 23, James Clear and what's the 4-Hour Work Week dude? What's his name?
Tim Ferriss.
They were doing one, and James Clear was saying, he's like, if you want to meditate, you should do it every day for a minute, right? Mm-hmm. And you just keep doing it every day for a minute because it's easy to meditate for a minute, right? Sure. And after a while, you now are a person who meditates, and scaling up from a minute to 2 minutes or a minute is super easy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also heard, Vitaly Katzenelson?
I do.
You know him? He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good writer. And he had a thing where he's like, when I meditate, I'm really only looking for 1 good minute. And that's really, sometimes you meditate for 10 or 20 minutes, your brain's just going like spinning the whole time. But it's like literally, if you get 1 minute where you're just not thinking about anything and you're just sort of present, that's a win.
Do you use an app or?
I use just the brown noise or the white. Okay. I mean, I use Calm, but I just use the ocean noise and the timer they have on it. I'm sorry I don't pay for the $65 for subscription to do that. I'm freeloading. What is your higher power? You and if you don't want to identify this, that's okay.
No, I don't mind.
Do you believe in God? Do you have a higher power? AA, you're supposed to have a higher power. Yeah. And by the way, Brad Pitt got in trouble for talking about AA. AA came down on him for saying he wasn't outing anybody else.
I didn't mention AA. I said I'm in a 12-step program.
Sorry, never mind.
You did.
I did. You're right. I made assumptions. I apologize.
I've never claimed to.
Okay. All right.
I do go to meetings. God. So I believe in the universe, and I believe that like there's a design and like there's something greater than me out there. Like, but do I think it's like God from, like from the Bible or like maybe, but it doesn't involve me. So I just believe that there is something greater at work. It could be a bunch of gods. It could just be, the universe. We could be in a simulation. I don't fucking know, but I do know that I'm not always in charge. And so like when I give up that and realize that maybe I'm not in charge, things seem to go better. So the belief that there is something greater than myself.
So do you feel like when you let go of trying to have control, you actually empower yourself?
1,000%. Like, so one of the, ways to get sober is to, when you talk about admitting that you're powerless, right? And I don't know if irony is the right word, but like, it's sort of ironic that in order to gain the power back, you have to admit that you're powerless, right? Like, so once I was able to admit, like, okay, I am powerless over this drug, right? Like, cocaine had lied to me so many times and told me, like, okay, it's going to be different this time, or you can shut down at midnight, or you're just going to do one line. Whatever the lie was, like, I fell for it every time, right? And I had to do the research, and I had to take all the data, and it was years and years of fucking up, right? But eventually I was like, okay, like, I can't do cocaine because I can't control what's going to happen.
Right. What was harder to kick, cocaine or cigarettes?
I mean, in rehab, they told me to, like, quit the things in the order they were killing me, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, like, cocaine was first on the list. But cocaine and alcohol, 1 and 1. But
because those were the complementary goods that went together.
Yeah. I would say the day-to-day I might give it to cigarettes, but, like, it's really hard to compare, like, apples and oranges, because, like, the cigarettes were, like, lighting one didn't feel like I might die. Right?
Where's the fun in that?
Right. So it's hard to compare, but they were both brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like when somebody forgives you after you fuck up colossally?
Oh, God. I mean, there's a ton of gratitude in that, but, like, it's interesting. That's a really interesting question, because the way you framed it almost made me off track, because if I apologize to you, right, I shouldn't be doing it to get you to be like, it's okay, or I shouldn't be doing it for your forgiveness. I should be doing it because it's the right thing to do, and like, I'm
for the universe,
and making amends, and just, like, being the person that. So when I apologize to you, this is gonna sound like it doesn't make sense, but your response or reaction doesn't really matter.
Right. No, I get that.
Right.
That's your only obligation. And I haven't had things that are quite as spectacular or public, but, like, I've made mistakes in my life, big ones. And, like, at a certain point, you just have to say, I'm really sorry I did this.
Right.
And whether that person forgives you or not is somewhat immaterial.
It is. But I would like to actually say to all 3 of your listeners,
to whom I apologize sincerely for your moral obligation to listen to this.
I think majority of people don't know how to apologize.
What do you mean?
Like, they're fucking terrible at it. Like,
what's the right way to apologize?
I mean, at no point. So let's say I screwed you over, right? Like, I don't need to tell you, like, well, you know, my sister was yelling at me that morning, and this, that, and the other. Like, you don't want to hear any of that shit, right? So what am I sorry for? So, like, I genuinely approach you and explain to you how sorry I deeply am, what I'm going to do to, you know, to rectify it, or, you know, to fix it, or, but, like, at no point am I bringing up stuff that you did.
Excuses or
no excuses, no, like, rationalization, no, like, well, you know, you were kind of a dick, right? Like, none of that.
Take that as a given.
Right. None of that. Just stick to what I did wrong and why I am sorry for it. And, like, again, regardless of how you know, respond, just accept it. So
did you feel, when you went through the amends, did you feel weight lifting off of you as you did it? You're not Catholic, are you?
No.
So you know about the act or reconciliation, the sacrament confession, where you go in and you tell your priest your sins. The fact of the matter is, it does make you feel good after you walk out of. I think it's hocus pocus nonsense, but it totally makes you feel good when you walk out of there, because you've just kind of said, like, I kind of did these things. I'm sorry for these things. I'm going to try to do better in the future. And you walk out of there and you feel this weight lifted off of you.
Right.
Did you have similar experiences?
Some. It felt good to, it felt good to. I don't know if unloaded is the right term, but it felt good to be a good person, or it felt good to do the right thing. But what you were also talking about is part of the steps of some of those 12-step programs. You are supposed to tell another person and your higher power of all of the things that you've done before you go to make amends to them. And I think it really is important that you're telling another human being and just kind of getting it past your teeth. So yeah, there's definitely some magic to telling someone what you've done.
Okay. What are the 3 best things about cocaine?
I mean, we're not doing an advertisement, are we?
No.
No, I mean...
Except for Topo Chico. This fine twist of grapefruit that will hydrate while you savor it.
Are we talking about, like, the lessons I've learned, or, like, while I was doing
I was going to say, I was going to frame it as the 3 best. What are the 3 top reasons people do cocaine?
Oh, God. I mean... There's a level of alertness and euphoria that, like, you rip a line. It's like 10 minutes of heaven and like 12 hours of hell, right? So like that first line is just like you elevate to this place that, like, people talk about cloud 9. This shit's like cloud 12, right?
It's euphoric.
Yeah, and it makes you feel invincible, right?
Okay. We'll take that as a good enough 1 bullet point.
Okay.
What are the 3 worst things about cocaine?
I mean, it's almost the same answer. It's so good that you need more, right? Like, and there's this desire, this chase to feel as good as you did from the first line. And it goes from, like, the first line, the first time you do it, that's the best it will ever be, ever. But every night you do cocaine, it's always the first line is the best. And as you progress throughout the night, you're chasing that high, which you'll never reach. And so you're trapped in this sort of hell, right? And so the other terrible thing about cocaine is it trumps everything else, right? And so, like, I remember, when I was going through my shit and fighting with my girlfriend, at one point she's like, "You love cocaine more than your daughter," and I was like, "What?"
Right.
But, like, if I look at the choices that I made, like, I was choosing cocaine over a relationship with my daughter. So, I mean, the shit will get you, like it's the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah.
All right. What else are we going to cover here? We talked about meditation. We talked about these things. Did you have a nickname as a kid?
I did.
What was your nickname?
So Turney, you would think, is like unusual enough, right?
Yeah.
Like not to warrant one. But since I was Turney growing up, by the time I got into high school, the guys on the football team decided that they needed to give me a nickname. So because Duff rhymed with Muff, they started calling me Muff. And so then girls didn't really love the nickname Muff, so they started calling me Muffin. And then that kind of also turned into Muffy. Mm-hmm. So I have girls from high school who still call me Muffin or Muffy. And there are some guys from high school who still call me Muff.
You'll always be Muff to me.
And here's a good one. Mm-hmm. Actually, I probably shouldn't say this out loud in public, but my high school phone number spelled Dick. So the last 4 digits were Dick. And
what's the D? Oh, you mean the number was
3425 was Dick.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's a stretch.
So
that's a stretch.
Wait, why is that a stretch?
Well, because there were 3 letters on each number, so it could be any multiple of things.
Right, but
I mean, it could be 1,000.
I bet
words.
you're
6786. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that.
I bet you
I'll
can't
ask
spell a word.
ChatGPT.
I bet you can't spell a word.
I bet you I can. We'll ask ChatGPT.
Can you Google that right now?
What words, ChatGPT, what words would I don't know.
On a rotary phone or on
a touchpad, what was it called? Touch tone phone.
Yeah.
What were the numbers?
6786.
I'll bet you $1. It doesn't spell a word.
Not one as interesting as Dick.
So here are some of the combinations of words that you can use for that. Norn.
Norn. That was my grade school nickname. Norn.
That's it.
That's
They're
it.
actually
All right.
no. They're
So
actually
type in 3425.
3425. Let's see. Here we go. It's giving me all the things. Dial. File.
Dick.
Doesn't give me dick.
ChatGPT won't do anything controversial.
No, it doesn't do. Yeah.
It won't.
Dick is a name.
All right. Hey, okay. Give me some advice as a new New Yorker. What do I need to reintroduce to my life as a New Yorker?
Oh God. I highly recommend going to the deli like at midnight. Doing late night trips, like be safe first.
Okay.
It's a little more dangerous than it used to be. No, but
I took the subway back from Brooklyn at 10 o'clock at night 2 weeks ago. I felt very proud of myself.
Yeah, that's good. I would say just feed off the energy where it's least expected, and the food obviously is just like I try to push myself to try new restaurants because it's so easy to like fall into the rotation.
Totally.
And yeah, I try to partake. I try to like do off-Broadway shows, regular Broadway. Went to the U.S. Open on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
I try to. I mean, for the amount of rent or mortgage that we're paying, we should take advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I went to the U.S. Open last night. It finally dawned on me the biggest problem in sports and live entertainment. The fact that it takes you 2 hours to get home from any popular event. Unless you're at the Garden.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you go to an event, and this was the case in Atlanta, absolutely the case in Atlanta, where you got an event at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is kind of like in a weird part of downtown. It's a walk to transit. It's a walk to parking, and getting out of there takes 2 hours. It's like you go, you have a good time, you have a couple pops, nice little snacks, and the whole time I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, this is great, but it's going to take me 2 hours to get home.
Right.
Do I have to let go of that?
I think because I mean, the U.S. Opens it's a little tight out there, but like I've been to Yankee games and have been back on my couch in 45 minutes.
Have you?
Yeah.
You catch the 6 train? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Did you drive to the U.S. Open?
No.
How, 7?
Well, the 7 train, yeah, but it was like we're gonna
Big,
get on the
massive
7
events
train
like that.
at midnight and get to Grand Central at 12:30, and so we just did the taxi stand. Of course, it was a 15-minute walk to the taxi stand, half hour in the taxi line.
Those are just massive. Also, that late at night, anything's going to take you that long to get home.
Yeah.
But you're going to a big event. That's a non-standard.
And
like
the 7's a local.
Yeah. The Madison Square Garden's got trains and it's constantly
the
doing
Garden's
stuff.
right in the middle of the city, right?
Right.
I mean, be home in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, all right, these lessons and more for a hayseed come to New York. Thanks, Turney Duff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Big Mike.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back next time.